Welcome to the Channel 6 News. I'm Dee Tranter reporting. Federal, state, and local officials gathered at the Needles District of Canyonlands National Park for the official dedication of the new Visitor Center. We'll have that story when Channel 6 News continues.
First Western National Bank is bringing affordable home lending back to Moab with 15 and 30-year fixed mortgages at very attractive rates. If you're thinking about buying a new home or refinancing your current loan, stop by and talk to our loan counselors. Home ownership and refinancing for very little down. Just another good reason that First Western National Bank is your hometown bank in Moab.
For the best RV camp park in Moab, it's Holiday Haven, with oversized spaces to accommodate the largest RV and cool, comfortable tent sites under mature shade trees, all with a convenient central location. Holiday Haven is also Moab's finest mobile home park that offers country living in the city. An established park with pool, playground, laundry facilities, and a retired section. For comfortable RV or mobile home living, it's Holiday Haven, 400 North, 5th West.
It was the official opening of the Needles Visitor Center at Canyonlands National Park Wednesday morning. On hand were Senator Jake Garn, Congressman Bill Orton, and Governor Norman Bangerter, as well as local officials from Grand and San Juan County. The center was completed in 1991, but the official opening was delayed until now as part of the beginning of the new season at the park, which for the last few years has grown tremendously in visitors. And the dignitaries greeted the opening with enthusiasm.
In 1990, over 8 million visitors came to Utah to see the national park lands. That's a lot of folks. Canyonlands visitation is going off the charts. From 1965, when we had under 20,000 people, 19,000 and something, to 1991 when we had 342,000, nearly 343,000. And this year to date, we are up 21% over that in Canyonlands. Arches is the same way, and even Natural Bridges is going the same direction. People are coming to the state to see the parks. Facilities like the Needles Visitor Center help us greet those visitors, to provide them with basic information they need to have a safe and enjoyable and I think enlightened and educated visit to the park.
Beautiful, fantastic. Thought that's come to my mind is timeless. I sometimes sit and look at these mesas and streams and rock formations and think how many people over how many centuries have had an opportunity to sit and look at this beautiful country. Nothing good happens in our society if someone doesn't take a leadership role and propose something and push for it. I'm happy to see Senator Moss here, who was the author of the Canyonlands bill some 27 or 8 years ago and helped create this as a lasting place for all of us to enjoy and for our posterity to enjoy. We're fortunate in Utah. You know, this is only one of 5 national parks and other recreation areas and state parks, and national monuments. And I think that's some sort of a record that we ought to be proud of, that we're privileged to live in a state that has so much natural beauty.
But I'm not only pleased with the structure, and I think it's beautifully designed to fit into the scenery and not be obtrusive at all, but I'm pleased with the interpretive people that will be able to be housed here, and so that people are able to come and be instructed and learn about the geology and the many features of the park. And so it goes beyond just a physical structure to a very helpful educational experience that people will have as they come here.
By the way, welcome to the 3rd Congressional District of Utah. It is, in fact, the most beautiful district in the entire nation. We have 5 national parks, at least 4 national parks and part of Zion's in this congressional district. And it certainly is worthy of a reputation around the United States and around the world as one of the most beautiful parts of the entire world. You know, Walt, back in 1965, I was one of those 22,000 visitors to the nation's newest park. And as a young schoolboy with my father and mother and sisters, we came down wanting to see the beauties and grandeur of this new park. And in fact, it was spectacular.
The ceremony concluded with the release of a golden eagle back into the wild. The eagle had been under the care and rehabilitation of John and Marilyn Bicking of the Canyonlands Raptor Center. And the actual release was made by Utah retiring Senator Jake Garn. The visitor center replaces the trailers previously used by park rangers and will provide services for the growing number of people visiting the park. The Moab City Board of Adjustments will be meeting Thursday evening and hearing from 3 businesses. Dick Holliday will be asking for a variance to allow him to have camping in the flood channel zone at the Canyonlands Camp Park. J.J. Wong will be asking for a variance to allow parking in the flood channel zone at the Greenwell Motel, and the Mavita Restaurant is asking for a variance to allow them to put up a sign larger than permitted under the new sign ordinance. That Board of Adjustment meeting takes place Thursday evening beginning at 7 p.m. in room 11 at the Red Rock Elementary School. This Saturday is the 2nd annual Gumbo Cook-Off Contest at the First Baptist Church. Once again, it's a grudge match between Bayou Bill Benge and Pastor Don Falk, who lately has taken to introducing himself as Dandy Don. Last year, the winner was Benge with a special shrimp gumbo, and Falk was right behind with his delicious chicken entree. For the past year, both contestants have been collecting just the right herbs and spices to make their efforts sure winners this year. The contest takes place at the First Baptist Church from 5 to 8 p.m. Saturday evening. The cost of the meal is $5 per person or $15 for a family, and all proceeds go to the First Baptist Church Fund to send youngsters to summer camp. Well, Moab City Council votes to help keep the Seek Haven shelter open. We'll have that story when Channel 6 News continues.
Music of Moab, music for everyone. Jazz, country, rock, classical, blues, and top 40. Everything for your listening pleasure is now available at Music of Moab. Conveniently located in the Western Plaza, Music of Moab carries your favorite music, CDs, cassettes, and a wide selection of music accessories. Music of Moab, your music headquarters for southeastern Utah. Music of Moab, music for everyone.
For all your insurance needs in Moab, it's Central Utah Insurance. Home, auto, business, and life. You can depend on the fast, friendly service at Central Utah Insurance, 471 South Main.
How do you have an instant party? Just buy a sack of subs at Subway. Take them home and serve them family style. It's more fun because everyone gets a taste of everything and no one has to cook. So if unexpected guests drop by unexpectedly or you don't feel like cooking dinner, pick up a sack of subs at Subway. We specialize in solving emergencies with food.
For more information on these and other fine sandwiches, visit the Subway near you.
What will happen to state lands within national parks? That was the topic of a private discussion between state officials and Utah's delegation in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday. Currently, the state owns parcels of land within both Native American reservations and within national parks, including Arches. For years, the state has complained that those lands have been effectively cut off from development. They have pushed to have the federal government trade those lands for other parcels that the state could sell or lease to raise money for the state school trust fund. But those negotiations have bogged down, and the Tuesday meeting was seen as an effort to get them going again. Moab City Council will immediately fund the Seek Haven Family Crisis Center with $3,000 to help keep the shelter open for a few more months. That was the decision made by the council Tuesday evening after they heard from Seek Haven Advisory Board member Sherry Griffith.
Seek Haven Family Crisis Center is a shelter for domestic violence. It was established about 1.5 years ago and has assisted and counseled quite a number of people in this area, over 1,000, I think, Carl, isn't it? And it has been operating in the past somewhat with some grants under the Housing Authority and hoping to get some state funding. Well, state funding has pretty much been cut out from under domestic violence. The program has worked with, it's involved with, or it has, a resource center that provides counseling. It has a shelter where women and children can go to be safe, which is confidential.
City Attorney Bill Benge explained that the shelter has been a positive social institution since its establishment 18 months ago.
Women that were battered and afraid had to either find a friend or find a minister or find social services who would sometimes be able to locate them at price, which would mean uprooting their children from school, etc.
Griffith told the council the shelter also hopes to get a contribution from Grand County. She added that within a year, the center hopes to be generating enough funds through grants and contributions to remain open. And according to Attorney Benge, reopening is very important.
I was very shocked and disappointed that we had to shut down, and I really don't even know what's happening to the people that we have been serving. And so it is a good program. It's a legitimate program. It's something we've needed probably for 20 years. We finally got it, and I sure hate to see it die.
In other business, the council heard from Assistant City Police Chief Scott Mallon, who explained that over the busy holiday weekend, there were no major problems. Mallon said extra highway patrolmen and full complements of city police and county sheriff's department kept things quiet.
With all that personnel that was on duty during the weekend, helped us to give a high profile out there, and we used it to our advantage, and we like to think that along with the weather helped us.
Mallon also added that in recent weeks the police have been ticketing bicycle riders who ignore traffic signals and signs.
The police department started a strict enforcement on mountain bicyclists for flagrant red light and stop sign violations that result in near misses or near accidents. For the most part, the recipients of our autographs are take them with a lump and go on their own way, but there are those that are starting to complain and think this is a ludicrous enforcement action.
City Public Works Director Brent Williams said that the city's sewer system made it through the weekend. Williams said the sewer plant has a capacity to process an average of 1.3 million gallons of sewage a day over the weekend. There were times when the flow exceeded that rate, but overall the average flow over the busiest days was below 900,000 gallons. But Williams added that the new construction in town will further tax the system.
The new motels, room-wise, we have 334 going online. That doesn't include the manager's living quarters, public restrooms, laundromats. Some of them are pretty healthy laundromats. Motel, as in new restaurant going in. There's quite a few factors that haven't all been figured in.
The council also gave tentative approval to Craig Tuttle of the Poplar Place for local consent in requesting a state private club liquor license.
The bar area is being divided off, and under current licensing that would just be a beer bar, a tavern only for beer. The whole rest of the establishment would be a restaurant. Okay, with the liquor license or the private club license, that bar area then becomes a private club, and the remaining establishment is a restaurant.
Everyone would have to buy membership before they could have any...
No, only people entering the bar area would be required to have a membership or be sponsored by a member to sit at the bar or be in the bar area. The whole rest of the establishment is a restaurant.
The next scheduled City Council meeting is May the 5th. How the Waste Was Won is a special video presentation Wednesday evening, Earth Day, here on Channel 6. The video was produced by Public Television and funded by the Colorado Office of Energy Conservation and the Federal Environmental Protection Agency, and is brought to local viewers by the Canyonlands Community Recycling Center. The 12-minute video explains some of the problems and solutions to waste in the West, including recycling and source reduction. The broadcast will be Wednesday evening, April 22nd, beginning at 7 p.m. here on Channel 6. Well, up next is the Canyon Country weather forecast when Channel 6 News continues.
Spring is here, and if images of shovels, rakes, sprinklers, hoses, fertilizer, and peat moss are running through your head, run on down to Moab Hardware and Furniture. This year, save backstring with this handy thatching blade that fits right on your mower. Save money with Ace brand fertilizer, 20-pound bag, just $3.99, and we'll loan you the spreader at no charge. Moab Hardware and Furniture, the garden spot for all your gardening needs.
Through the seasons, through the miles, through the rough country of southeastern Utah, we get you through. We're GTE. We're your telephone company.
Clouds and a nice rain Wednesday morning gave way to sunshine, but then it was back to more clouds by afternoon with highs just about touching the 70-degree mark. If you love the sun, hold on for a day or so. The official National Weather Service forecast for Moab and Canyon Country calls for partly cloudy skies to stay around through Thursday with a chance of some scattered showers. And thermometer readings in the mid-70s, overnight lows down to about 50, but the clouds should clear out by Friday and Saturday with clear skies, and afternoon mercury readings back to the 80-degree mark. And that's news from Moab and Canyon Country. I'm Dee Tranter reporting. Have a good day.
Welcome to the Channel 6 News. I'm Jim Kelly reporting. Arches Winery in Spanish Valley may get some tax help from the state of Utah after all. And gumbo cook-off contestant Bill Bend says his opponent Don Falk is blowing smoke. We'll have those stories when the Channel 6 News continues.
For the unusual gift, try Sherry's Country Store Gifts. Sherry grew up around country stores and knows there has to be something for all the five senses. Something to see, smell, taste, touch, and hear, and give the sense you're a welcome customer. The walls are filled with unique goods from different corners of the world. So for the memorable gift of quality, come to Sherry's Country Store Gifts in the Western Plaza.
The Moab Golf Course has been described as the most beautiful in the state, so now that warm weather's here, why not come out to play the course that attracts golfers from all over the region? Individual and group lessons are available along with golf club and cart rentals. So come on out for some golf among the Red Rocks at the Moab Golf Course. For information, call 259-6488.
San Juan County Commissioners are pushing ahead with plans to request $100,000 for a study to determine if a temporary nuclear waste dump can be built there. They discussed the question at their meeting this week. Commissioners Bill Redd and Ty Lewis are in favor of the proposal, and Mark Maryboy is against it. Redd and Lewis were criticized by a handful of county residents, including Pack Creek's Ken Slight, for making the decision to push for the study without discussing it in advance or in public. Both those commissioners say the plant will provide economic development for the county. But Maryboy told KUTV in Salt Lake City that he doesn't want that kind of industry.
I would rather be poor than have something like that here in this county.
The federal government is planning a permanent nuclear waste disposal site in the Yucca Mountains in Nevada, but that proposal has run into problems and could be delayed until sometime next century. In the meantime, there's no place to put the spent fuel rods from nuclear power plants. But there is one other problem with the grant application. It includes hiring Commissioner Lewis as project manager at $16 per hour. Lewis told the media his name was listed in order to speed up the grant application. He added his name will be removed in future requests. After vetoing a bill to help Arches Winery earlier this year, Governor Norman Bangerter says he will support another bill next year. Here's Ken Davey with a report.
It probably won't happen until next year, but the state of Utah will probably give Arches Winery a tax break it needs to keep in business. That was the word from Governor Norman Bangerter, who was in southeast Utah this week for the official opening of the Needles Visitor Center at Canyonlands. Arches is the only winery in the state of Utah. It only produces a few thousand gallons of wine a year, but it is the sole purchaser of grapes grown in Spanish and Castle Valleys. And the winery was seen as an essential part to building the grape industry here as another step toward economic diversity. Utah charges an extremely high 60% tax on alcoholic beverages, and winery owner Anita Bradford says that if she has to charge that much at her sales room here in Spanish Valley, the business will not be profitable. So State Representative David Adams proposed a bill that cut that tax in half at the Utah winery. There was some early opposition from the LDS Church, but throughout the state, political leaders said it was needed for economic development, and the church withdrew its opposition. So the bill sailed through the state legislature. But then the governor, who had supported the bill and the winery, said legal counsel thought it was unconstitutional by giving a tax break to just one company over every other one that produced wine in the nation. So Bangerter vetoed that bill, which left the wine industry here in southeast Utah back to square one. Now the governor says he will support a modified version of that bill, which will give a tax break to all small wineries, cutting across any constitutional problems. So Arches, if it can hold on for one more year, will get the break owners say is needed to keep in business. This is Ken Davey for Channel 6.
Should Moab City adopt a part of the state's unified building code that requires stricter controls on excavation projects? That was part of the discussion at the recent city council meeting. The new ordinance calls for permits to do some excavation and would also require stricter engineering and geologic study before large amounts of dirt could be moved. The aim, say some city employees, is to help alleviate some of the drainage problems that can occur when digging and channeling is not well thought out. On the east side of the city, there are areas that suffer heavy erosion after rainstorms, and the result can be expensive for both nearby property owners and the city itself. According to City Building Inspector Pete Johnson, the new ordinance would not apply to individual building projects that now get building permits.
And this wouldn't affect the normal building permit because grading and excavating is part of their permit when they do that. So this would be for people that are changing the grade on property, excavating or placing fill on property. And this is going to protect abutting property. Maybe, I'm not positive on this, maybe some additional requirements that need to be met to have this type of license as far as building safety.
But on hand was contractor Dave Cousins, who spoke out against adopting the new rules.
I'm not sure that this is really necessary. It seems to me like it's pretty redundant. They're talking about safety and property damage from erosion control, and I think those things are probably addressed adequately in other areas.
Some council members also indicated they felt the rules could be too burdensome and the issue was tabled for future discussion. And the council also voted to put out to a bid a contract to repave the parking strips surrounding the new city park. The estimated cost of the project is somewhere around $16,500. The Grand County Citizens for Better Government will be out surveying what residents think of changing the form of county government this Friday and Saturday. There will be tables set up at Best Value Foods on South Main Street and at the post office on First North. A movie company will be auditioning for extras here in Moab this weekend, and a local organic grower says there are alternatives to chemicals to control the cutworm infestations. We'll have those stories when the Channel 6 News continues.
Spring is busting out all over at Spanish Valley Nursery. Quality new stock is arriving almost daily at the best prices around. Select from an abundance of evergreen and flowering shrubbery and container-grown roses. Decorative grasses, ground covers, and ivies line the path to the greenhouse, where it's full steam ahead for flowers, vegetables, and herbs. And it doesn't stop there. The backup stock is growing in the wings. Come enjoy the bounty of spring at Spanish Valley Nursery, where it's always first quality.
You know, Pete & Company is the largest styling salon in southeastern Utah. But did you know they have casual wear? These go-anywhere styles take you from morning to evening, from work to play, comfortably in carefree cotton blends. Now colorful too, in bright spring shades. You'll love to live in it. Pete & Company, your place for style from head to toe.
First Western National Bank is bringing affordable home lending back to Moab with 15 and 30-year fixed mortgages at very attractive rates. If you're thinking about buying a new home or refinancing your current loan, stop by and talk to our loan counselors. Home ownership and refinancing for very little down. Just another good reason that First Western National Bank is your hometown bank in Moab.
If you've always felt you could be a star, here's your chance. Okay, maybe not a star, but at least an extra in a major motion picture. A film entitled This Boy's Life will be holding auditions this Saturday at the Moab Film Commission offices. The company is looking for 30 to 50 adults between the ages of 20 and 70. Men must be clean-shaven or willing to shave, and those chosen will receive 1940s haircuts by the company. Women's hair should be shorter than shoulder length, or extras must be willing to have it cut to a 40s style. Wardrobe will be furnished by the company. The shoot length of time for the project here in Moab should be short, and details of production dates are not yet available. If you would like to audition to be an extra, you should show up to the Film Commission office Saturday, April 25th from 3 to 4 p.m. This Saturday night is the annual Gumbo Cook-Off at the First Baptist Church. The contestants are City Attorney Bill Benge and First Baptist Church Pastor Don Falk, and at stake is the coveted title of Gumbo King. Last year's contest was a major success, and the winner was Bill Benge. But a major controversy has arisen over the last week as the two cooks get ready for this year's event. On a broadcast seen last Monday evening here on Channel 6, Falk indicated that Benge won by less than honest means. That brought a heated response from Benge.
I just happened to see Dandy Don Falk on Channel 6 News a couple nights ago, and Don seemed to indicate that I bribed judges last year. That's how I became the Gumbo King, that I picked the judges and then bribed them. First, I'd like to say that the judges were entirely picked last year by Don Falk. I had no part in the selection process. And I assume it's going to be that way again, because I certainly haven't been asked to supply any names for judges this year. So again, it'll be a stacked deck, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to persevere.
Benge says he is willing this year to withdraw from the contest. With only one contestant, that meant Falk had a better than even chance of winning.
Don's ego couldn't take that. He had to make another go at it, just like he has to make a go at the chili cook-off every year, which he also loses with quite regularity. So here we are again. I'd also note, when I happened to see Pastor Falk on the TV, I noticed that again he's trying to emulate me. I've shaved my mustache. He immediately went out and shaved his. So though he tries to badmouth me and make little innuendos, you can tell that the man really emulates me and tries to pattern his life after mine.
The accusations of cheating have cut Benge to the quick.
Why do you put up with it? I'm really not sure, Ken, especially, I mean, to allude that an attorney is dishonest is just is a terrible thing in and of itself, even apart from this competition. It's either a real masochistic streak in my nature. However, it is all good for the good of the children. I think last year we raised $800 or $900 and sent quite a few people to camp. And however, I would also point out that some of that money went to send Don to camp too. He goes with the children and gets a nice little vacation out of this. So.
And then, of course, so does Moab.
And so does Moab. We get a little vacation away from Don. So it all works out for the best of everybody.
So old hostilities burn bright again, and the winners are Moab residents who can show up this Saturday night at the Gumbo Cook-Off from 5 to 8 p.m. at the First Baptist Church. The cost of the meal is $5 per person or $15 per family, and all the money raised goes to the church fund to send local young people to summer camp. Last week, County Agent Dan Nelson described what agricultural officials fear is a major infestation of cutworms, which can do major damage to crops, trees, gardens, and lawns. Organic gardeners in the area agree that there is a major problem, but they say there are things you can do without turning to chemical pesticides. Andrew Riley grows fruit trees here in the valley and believes he has some hints to help you do that.
A lot of people have asked me whether or not I could pass on some of the alternative methods that can be used to deal with cutworms, which are a real challenge this year around our area. I'd like to go through 4 or 5 different methods here, starting with the mechanical methods, which are the simplest, and that is to put a simple barrier around each plant. Now, if you've got a field full of plants, you're in trouble. You really can't go at it from that angle. Paper cups, milk cartons, these are very efficient at keeping the cutworm out away from the plant, which is as efficient as you can get. If you can't touch it, you can't eat it. There's also a biological control, very similar to what the Moab Mosquito Abatement District is planning on using on the mosquitoes locally. It affects only the larvae of caterpillars or of moths in the caterpillar stage. Now, it's called Bacillus thuringiensis, BT, and it goes under the brand name Dipel. You spray that on in the evening. The cutworm comes out at night and eats the leaf, so you're going to lose a leaf, but the cutworm gets infected with this particular bacteria. Now, it's not efficient against all strains of cutworms, of which there are 40 or 50 different varieties, but many varieties are susceptible to this particular type of bacteria, and it works quite well. They get a bite of your plant, but they don't come back the next night and eat the whole thing. Also, cutworms will climb a tree. They'll go up a cottonwood, a small cottonwood, and take the buds out. A fruit tree, take the buds out. Now, there's a very simple method of dealing with that, and that is you put a sticky substance called tanglefoot around the base of the tree. Wrap a little piece of paper around the base so it doesn't come in contact with the trunk. Put this tanglefoot on and it acts as a deterrent. It also acts as a deterrent for the ants going up the tree, which nurture or are nurtured by the aphids. Now, the aphids are an awful problem with people who grow roses around here, and they rely on some very toxic and heavy chemicals to deal with that problem, when in fact keeping the ants out of the rose bush oftentimes is a solution in itself, especially in a year like this where we've had a very early warm spring. The ladybugs and the lacy wings have hatched out in prolific numbers. The aphids are a little behind that whole crew, and so an aphid shows up on your tree or your bush and it starts to multiply. In comes a ladybug, and if the ants aren't there to run the ladybug off, the ladybug will just take care of those aphids right there. One simple method is that you put a paper cup around the plant that you're trying to save. Sprinkle a little cornmeal either outside or inside that paper cup. Inside, if the cutworm happens to get inside the paper cup, he's going to eat the cornmeal. The cornmeal expands in their intestines and causes them irreparable damage.
Up next is the Canyon Country weather forecast when the Channel 6 News continues.
Through the seasons, through the miles, through the rough country of southeastern Utah, we get you through. We're GTE. We're your telephone company.
The Nike Air Moab, only at RIM. It was hazy sunshine in the valley on Thursday with afternoon highs climbing into the mid-70s. And we should have blue skies for the next few days. The official National Weather Service forecast for Moab and Canyon Country calls for bright sunshine and warm temperatures beginning Friday and running right on through the weekend. Look for afternoon high mercury readings into the 80s with overnight lows around 55, and by Monday the thermometer should be up above 85 degrees. And that's the news of Moab and Canyon Country. I'm Jim Kelly reminding you to keep on smiling. Welcome to the Channel 6 News. I'm Jim Kelly reporting. The attorney for Canyonlands Camp Park says let us camp people in the flood channel or we'll see you in court. We'll have that story when the Channel 6 News continues.
Spring is here, and if images of shovels, rakes, sprinklers, hoses, fertilizer, and peat moss are running through your head, run on down to Moab Hardware and Furniture. This year, save backstring with this handy thatching blade that fits right on your mower. Save money with Ace brand fertilizer, 20-pound bag, just $3.99. And we'll loan you the spreader at no charge. Moab Hardware and Furniture, the garden spot for all your gardening needs.
Make Nelson's Heating and Refrigeration your first step to cool this summer with one of their new swamp coolers. Nelson's also offers parts, service, and installation. And if it's appliances you're after, Nelson's proudly presents Whirlpool and Maytag brands for low energy use, fewer repairs, and great warranties. Nelson's Heating and Refrigeration, serving Moab for 30 years, 1070 Bowling Alley Lane.
An attorney for Canyonlands Camp Park says if the city of Moab does not allow his client to camp people in the Pack Creek flood channel, he will sue. That was the conclusion of a long discussion at Thursday evening's City Board of Adjustments meeting. The Board of Adjustments is the body that has the power to grant variances or exceptions to zoning rules and regulations in Moab. One such request came from Dick Holliday, owner of the camp park on South Main Street. The business is along the creek, and Holliday has in the past had tent camping in what is called the flood channel, or the area that is supposed to be kept clear so that floodwaters can flow through. Holliday was represented by Salt Lake attorney Lowell Summerhays, who said his client has been using that area of his property for years and that continued use of it is necessary for the economic well-being of the business.
His operation probably wouldn't be economical, and the ongoing existence of his business would be seriously threatened because the bottom line requires that income. And there's kind of a synergistic effect also in that people that camp there at other times bring in their campers. And so he feels that that would, in fact, definitely threaten the existence of his business operation.
In addition, said Summerhouse, the laws should take into account the economic needs of businesses.
Now, somewhere here, I think we have to balance off also the important need of protecting business interests and commercial interests in the city, in that rather than having a negative financial impact on the community, Mr. Holliday and his business, I think, have had a very positive impact and have been a source of revenue and income for everybody involved. And I think his history of having been operating down there for a long time and have been allowed to operate down there for a long time should be considered in fairness to him.
The solution, said Summerhays, was to allow the camping with certain stipulations.
What we think is the solution here is not to turn him down, but to say, okay, we would allow you to do that, but we want some assurances that it can be done properly and it can be done within the standards of the code and in a manner that guarantees the purposes you've outlined.
When board members indicated they hadn't been convinced, Summerhays said legal action may be the answer.
Considering all the alternatives and options and the consequences, our firm does a fair amount of this. We're familiar with Vermont and research this pretty carefully. We think that if you do preclude him from operating there, you probably have condemned his property. At least we think there's a possibility of that. You may want to get a legal opinion from your counsel before you make the final decision on the issue as to what your exposure might be in that regard, because we certainly feel that Mr. Holliday was substantially damaged if he's shut down now.
And on the way out, City Attorney Bill Benge was presented with an unsigned copy of a notice of intent to commence action and a copy of a suit document calling for millions of dollars in damages.
I assume this means that they intend to sue. So I would also add to that prior to this, Mr. Summerhays told me that that was his intent and that he would exhaust his administrative remedies first.
The board made no decision on the variance request and agreed to discuss it again at their next meeting. In other action, the board agreed to a variance to allow Eddie McStiff's Bar and Restaurant to put up a sign on the Myvita property along Highway 191.
The placement of the sign that we're requesting is between Lehman Trading and Sunset Motel. It is a previously approved Young Electric sign location who declined to take the space. We entered into an agreement with Myvita, had the sign produced, the sign ordinance was passed.
The new sign ordinance only allows a limited amount of signage per lot, but because the Myvita property has an estimated frontage of almost 3,000 feet, the board agreed to make the exception and allow the extra sign. And the board also okayed a request from the Greenwell Motel to build a parking lot in the flood channel along Mill Creek. According to David Beerscheid and George Buys, the project could be a benefit to flood control.
George Buys and myself are representing J.J. Wong in a proposal for the Greenwell Motel.
What we are requesting is a variance to allow us to put in that parking lot and have those parking spaces within the floodway boundary, the FC1 zone. The effect that this will have on the floodway to construct this parking area down there will be, well, actually it'll be beneficial in a way in that, first of all, the parking lot, we won't change grade in through there. The grade will basically match the existing grade that's on the ground now. So the cross-sectional area of the floodway, of the channel itself, will not change. Secondly, the installation of the asphalt and base will act as an armoring of the existing ground so that it'll reduce the amount of erosion that could happen during a flood.
The Greenwell expansion project will add an additional 70 motel rooms. Red Rock Elementary School students clean up 4th East, and Congressman Bill Orton wants to know what residents think of the economy, the federal deficit, and taxes. We'll have that story when the Channel 6 News continues.
First Western National Bank, your hometown bank in Moab, has a special offer for homeowners. Now is the time to fix up your home with a new addition, kitchen cabinets, storm windows, siding, or a new deck. First Western National Bank can make any qualified homeowner an FHA Title I loan up to $17,500. Come in and see Southeast Utah's loan specialist at First Western National Bank, your hometown bank in Moab.
Music of Moab, music for everyone. Jazz, country, rock, classical, blues, and top 40. Everything for your listening pleasure is now available at Music of Moab. Conveniently located in the Western Plaza, Music of Moab carries your favorite music, CDs, cassettes, and a wide selection of music accessories. Music of Moab, your music headquarters for southeastern Utah. Music of Moab, music for everyone.
In case you've been too busy to notice, McDonald's prices have changed. An original hamburger is just 59 cents, a cheeseburger just 69 cents, a sausage biscuit 79 cents. But if you're in a hurry, don't worry. Because this is not a promotion. It's McDonald's today. And from now on.
Democrat and Republican activists will be gathering this Monday night in caucus meetings. The meetings are open to all party members. At the caucuses, delegates to the upcoming county convention will be elected. Both the Democrats and Republicans have two candidates running for county commissioner. If a candidate receives 70% or more of the votes of delegates at county conventions, then they become the party nominee. If no one gets at least 70%, there will be a primary this fall. Democrats will meet at the Civic Center, then break up into districts. Republicans will meet at various locations around town. If you want to know where your voting district is meeting, you can call Republican County Chairperson Roberta Knutson at 259-6274. A recent report indicates that the shift from rural life to urban living in Utah is accelerating. That's the conclusion of a report from the Utah Foundation, a private tax organization. The study shows that Utah as a whole is the sixth most urbanized state in the nation, with 80% of residents living in or near cities. The study also shows that Utah's smaller counties, including Grand, are home to a shrinking percentage of people. Grand County has less than 0.5% of the state residents. In fact, the 10 smallest counties make up only 1.5% of the 1.77 million Utah population. Small-town political leaders here have long felt their needs have been put at the bottom of the list when it came to state allocation, and these latest figures indicate that problem could grow bigger in the future. If you passed along 4th East Friday morning, you may have noticed an unusual-looking cleanup crew. First of all, they were 8 or 9 years old. Third graders from the Red Rock Elementary School were out in force with garbage bags picking up trash that accumulated along the road. The class was under the direction of third grade teacher Marcia Marshall, and the enthusiastic students managed to cart away bags full of garbage that otherwise would still be blowing across town. According to Red Rock Elementary School principal Margaret Hopkin, the aim of the project was to not only clean up the trash, but to find out what kind of trash and how much of it is being littered. And Moab looks better because of their efforts. Meanwhile, back at the Red Rock School, a group of high school art students dropped by to help the first grade class make masks for the upcoming art fair. The project took place in Mary Mullen's parent-assisted classroom with the help of high school art instructor Chris Becker. Some of the students never looked better, and comments were made that it was the quietest the classroom has ever been. According to Becker, it not only gave the first graders a chance to be creative in decorating the masks, but it also was a nice change of pace for his students.
We're just helping Mary Mullen with getting these masks done for the kids. It's a plaster casting they use for casting broken arms and legs or whatever else is broken, and you just cut them up into strips and dip them in water, and we make a mold basically of the kid's face, and then they can decorate them and create a really unique and exciting mask. And it's fun. It's unique for the kids. I think they have a good time doing it, and my high school kids love it. I think they had a really good time. Something they don't get to do all the time.
And high school student Summer Johnson agreed it was worthwhile.
We were just helping them because they really couldn't do it themselves to put the plaster or whatever it was on them. So we just came over here and did that for them.
Helping out was parent Susie Stengel. She is part of the parent-assisted classroom where adults come in to give individual attentions to students.
What we're trying to do with the parent-assisted classrooms is just enable the teachers to do their best in whatever projects they have in mind. So we help out in the classroom with reading and writing and science projects, art projects, anything that the teacher has in mind. So what we're trying to do is just to enable the teachers to be the best.
And today you were helping with the mask making.
That's right. One of our favorite projects.
And the completed masks will be on display at the art fair, which takes place May 6th at the high school. A major motion picture will be holding auditions this Saturday for a film about the 1940s. The film is called This Boy's Life, and they are looking for 30 to 50 adults between 20 and 70 years of age. The extras will be dressed and groomed as people were in the 1940s. If you would like to audition, you should show up to the Moab Film Commission offices in the Western Plaza Shopping Center on Saturday, April 25th from 3 to 4 p.m. The Grand County Citizens for Better Government will be out surveying what residents think of changing the form of county government this Friday and Saturday. There will be tables set up at Best Value Foods on South Main Street and at the post office on First North. Up next is the Canyon Country weather forecast when the Channel 6 News continues.
For the best RV camp park in Moab, it's Holiday Haven, with oversized spaces to accommodate the largest RV and cool, comfortable tent sites under mature shade trees, all with a convenient central location. Holiday Haven is also Moab's finest mobile home park that offers country living in the city, an established park with pool, playground, laundry facilities, and a retired section. For comfortable RV or mobile home living, it's Holiday Haven, 400 North, 5th West.
Through the seasons, through the miles, through the rough country of southeastern Utah, we get you through. We're GTE. We're your telephone company.
The Moab Golf Course has been described as the most beautiful in the state, so now that warm weather's here, why not come out to play the course that attracts golfers from all over the region? Individual and group lessons are available along with golf club and cart rentals. So come on out for some golf among the Red Rocks at the Moab Golf Course. For information, call 259-6488.
Bright sunshine stayed in the valley on Friday with afternoon temperatures climbing up into the mid-70s. And look for great outdoor recreation weather the next few days. The official National Weather Service forecast for Moab and Canyon Country calls for sunshine and warm temperatures through the weekend and into Monday. Look for afternoon thermometer readings into the 80s and overnight lows down to around the 55-degree mark. And the long-range forecast looks good. Meteorologists call for fair to partly cloudy skies through Tuesday and Wednesday, temperatures from the mid-70s on up. And that's the news of Moab and Canyon Country. I'm Jim Kelly, reminding you to keep on smiling.
Welcome to the Channel 6 News. I'm Dee Tranter reporting. Congressman Bill Orton holds a public meeting in Moab on the economy and the federal deficit. And local political activists will choose county and state delegates at party caucuses Monday evening. We'll have those stories when Channel 6 News continues.
Get in on the fun with this 91 Ford Explorer at Certified Ford. This V6 automatic XLT comes complete with power windows and locks, air conditioning and cruise control for your ease and comfort, and pinstripes running boards and an AM/FM cassette for the sport in you. Low mileage, too. See it today at Certified Ford.
For the best RV camp park in Moab, it's Holiday Haven, with oversized spaces to accommodate the largest RV and cool, comfortable tent sites under mature shade trees, all with a convenient central location. Holiday Haven is also Moab's finest mobile home park that offers country living in the city, an established park with pool, playground, laundry facilities, and a retired section. For comfortable RV or mobile home living, it's Holiday Haven, 400 North, 5th West.
What can the nation do about the increasing federal debt? That was the topic of discussion Friday evening here in Moab when Congressman Bill Orton held a special town meeting at the courthouse. It was one of 9 meetings held across the 3rd Congressional District during the Easter congressional recess. Orton explained to Channel 6 the aim of the meeting.
We've been on a circuit. We're on a 2-week Easter district work period. And so I have an opportunity to spend some time around the district in each of the cities, and we're holding town meetings throughout the entire district. This one is in Moab tonight. The main topic of the meeting is the federal budget, deficit spending. Where are we going to cut spending? Are we going to raise revenues? How do we get ourselves out of this hole?
Orton explained to a small crowd some of the problems with the federal budget. He stated that the last time the federal government had a budget surplus was in 1969, and that the biggest growth in the deficit was during the 1980s.
1980, Ronald Reagan took office, actually was sworn in January of 81. What happened in 81? The 1981 Tax Act, with huge reductions in revenues, tax cuts. What else? An unprecedented military buildup, defense spending, 2-3 times anything we had spent in previous years. So we had a decrease in income and increase in spending.
Orton stated that during the 80s, defense spending and interest payments have skyrocketed, while actual domestic spending has gone down when adjusted for inflation. He also stated that personal income tax has gone up while corporate income tax has dropped. And while the majority of Americans saw their incomes go down over the 1980s, the wealthiest Americans had more money than ever.
And the top 1% of the richest people in the country, their income went up by 136% in the decade of the 1980s. If it feels like the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, it's because they are.
The solutions, according to Orton, will be painful, but are necessary. He calls for a constitutional amendment prohibiting deficit spending, coupled with a presidential line-item veto and multi-year planning. And Orton also says money can be saved by restructuring the federal bureaucracy. Both Democrats and Republicans will be meeting to elect delegates to the upcoming county convention and to future state conventions. The caucuses are particularly important to local candidates for the one open county commission seat. Running for the Democratic nomination are Peter Haney and Joe Kingsley, and for the Republican nomination are Rick Hoover and Dale Mosier. If one candidate can get 70% or better of the vote at the county convention, then he becomes the party choice. If neither can get the votes, it goes to a primary election. As usual, the Democrats will all meet together Monday evening at the Civic Center, where they will then break up into voter districts. Republicans will be meeting at various locations around town, which are listed in the Times Independent, but there is one change from that schedule. Republicans in District 10 will now be meeting at the high school in room 2. The state of Utah has been chosen as a recipient of a special federal study grant to look at ways to extend the life of oil fields in Utah. The special grant will go to looking at new technologies that can be used to get more oil out of fields that are considered played out. According to Lee Allison of the Utah Geological Survey, there is an estimated 1.5 billion barrels of oil in just the Uinta Basin alone. The lessons learned from this study plan will also be applied to oil fields in the south of Utah, including the Anath, Lisbon Valley, and the current Paradox play on the Big Flat and Hatch Point. Burial services will be held Tuesday for former Moab resident Kelly Kyle Anderson, who died Saturday following a motorcycle accident. He was 30 years of age. He is survived by his wife Carla and his parents Ray and Dorothy Anderson, as well as 2 sisters and 1 brother. There will be a service Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. in Price at the Trinity Christian Center, and there will be a burial and graveyard service here in Moab at the Grand Valley Cemetery Tuesday afternoon at 3 p.m. The Citizens for Better Government ask local residents what they think of county government, and Moab crowns its gumbo king. We'll have those stories when Channel 6 News continues.
For the unusual gift, try Sherry's Country Store Gifts. Sherry grew up around country stores and knows there has to be something for all the 5 senses. Something to see, smell, taste, touch, and hear, and give the sense you're a welcome customer. The walls are filled with unique goods from different corners of the world. So for the memorable gift of quality, come to Sherry's Country Store Gifts in the Western Plaza.
First Western National Bank, your hometown bank in Moab, has a special offer for homeowners. Now is the time to fix up your home with a new addition, kitchen cabinets, storm windows, siding, or a new deck. First Western National Bank can make any qualified homeowner an FHA Title I loan up to $17,500. Come in and see Southeast Utah's loan specialist at First Western National Bank, your hometown bank in Moab.
How do you have an instant party? Just buy a sack of subs at Subway. Take them home and serve them family style. It's more fun because everyone gets a taste of everything and no one has to cook. So if unexpected guests drop by unexpectedly or you don't feel like cooking dinner, pick up a sack of subs at Subway. We specialize in solving emergencies with food.
For more information on these and other fine sandwiches, visit the Subway near you.
Besides the candidates running for office, there may be another issue on the November ballot, and that is what kind of change of government do Grand County residents want? At least, that's what will happen if one local group, Grand County Citizens for Better Government, has its way. The group was out over the weekend getting local residents to fill out questionnaires asking whether or not they feel they are represented by the current 3-member county commission or if a change is needed. According to one member of the group, Angela Batista, the response from the public was beyond what she had expected.
This morning it's been really great. I've noticed the majority of folks that have come out have been senior citizens, and we've had a number of people fill out the survey sheet, and quite a few people have donated money. Yesterday, the turnout at both places here at the post office and at the IGA store was tremendous. All day long, people just came, in a variety of people, not just, predominantly seniors. Young folks, older folks, filled out surveys for us. I don't know exactly how many hadn't counted yet, but we had full donation boxes, so the participation overall has been tremendous.
State law allows county residents to adopt a number of possible types of government, from simply expanding the number of commissioners all the way to consolidating both city and county governments. But in order to make the change, supporters must obtain hundreds of names on petitions and then have a vote. Citizens for Better Government hope to be on this year's ballot.
The next step is to tally all of the surveys, publish our findings in the media, and from there we will see what the majority of the people in the community feel they want as an alternative form of government. And then we'll go about writing it out on paper and getting the petitions made up and then circulating petitions and then submitting that to the county clerk who reviews it, and then the county commissioners review it, and then it should be on the ballot by November. That's the goal.
Although Citizens for Better Government want to have the vote this year, the final decision is made by the Grant County Commission, which can delay it for up to 18 months. The second annual Gumbo Cook-Off took place Saturday night at the First Baptist Church in front of a large and appreciative audience. Once again, it was Bill Benge versus Pastor Don Falk in the fight over just who has a better gumbo. Benge is a native of Louisiana, and he prepared his special shrimp gumbo. Falk was born in the Cajun country of Beaumont, Texas, just across the state line. He went with his best, a chicken version. And both chefs claimed they went the extra mile to make their specialties unique.
I want the people to appreciate how many months it took me driving up and down the highway to find enough freshly killed animals on the highway to get all of this stuff here. This is no easy task.
And likewise, I mean, it's easy to find a roadkill chicken, but to find a roadkill shrimp in Utah is tough.
Unlike past years, when there were questions as to the honesty of the judges, this year's slate was beyond reproach, except, of course, from the loser. After consuming large quantities of the food, the judges got together and made their decision.
Whatever those things that were in there, floating, I don't know if they came off the tree or what, but the
Russian
ones
olives.
yeah, some of those floaters, that's pretty good stuff with the chicken.
I kind of like the consistency of the chicken the best, but I like the flavor of the seafood gumbo the best.
The shrimp had a better flavor, but the chicken was a little bit heartier, and so I'd probably go with the chicken gumbo.
I'd probably go with the seafood too.
The shrimp seem to have the better flavor, and the chicken gumbo seems to need a little something else, a little more spices, and maybe a little okra to go along with it.
The judges have made a decision. It was quite a close call, and again, in keeping with tradition of what happens around this parish, the winner is Mr. Benge.
Oh boy!
I can't believe it.
I'm not here.
I want to thank Bill for helping us raise money to send kids camp. Thank these really poor judges. I don't know what the problem is.
The winner receives the gumbo gratuities are an all-expense paid trip to Glorieta Baptist Conference Center. He will be counselor for 10 teenage boys. He will stay in a dormitory with 25 teenage boys with 25 boom boxes playing 25 different rap tunes.
The money raised goes to a special fund to send Moab youngsters to the church summer camp, and the loss is another blow to the prestige of Pastor Falk.
It's just going to take a while.
2 chickens.
I'm going to have to reassess. I'll tell you what, Jim, I think since I do cook for the common man, and I know that the average man in Moab is behind me, I can't compete with the money that this man puts into his gumbo, so I think I'm going to get an 800 number where people can call in and pledge.
Up next is the Canyon Country weather forecast when Channel 6 News continues.
Make Nelson's Heating and Refrigeration your first step to cool this summer with one of their new swamp coolers. Nelson's also offers parts, service, and installation. And if it's appliances you're after, Nelson's proudly presents Whirlpool and Maytag brands for low energy use, fewer repairs, and great warranties. Nelson's Heating and Refrigeration, serving Moab for 30 years, 1070 Bowling Alley Lane. Through the seasons, through the miles, through the rough country of southeastern Utah, we get you through. We're GTE. We're your telephone company.
It was beautiful sunshine in the valley with high temperatures nudging the 90-degree mark, but the weather could be a bit more unsettled over the next few days. Official National Weather Service forecast for Moab and Canyon Country calls for variable clouds through Tuesday with a chance of some showers, though they're most likely to the west. Look for afternoon thermometer readings to stay in the upper 80s with overnight lows down to around the 60-degree mark. Wednesday and Thursday should be partly cloudy and dry with mercury readings staying above the 85-degree mark. But by Friday, look for some storm clouds to come in and a cool front will be moving over the state. There could be rain by the weekend, temperatures in the 70s. And that's news of Moab and Canyon Country. I'm Dee Tranter reporting. Have a good day.
Welcome to the Channel 6 News. I'm Tricia Maroney reporting. Grand County political activists take part in the Democratic and Republican Party caucus meetings. And Congressman Bill Orton says the bad reputation of Congress probably won't affect his run for re-election. We'll have those stories when the Channel 6 News continues.
For all your insurance needs in Moab, it's Central Utah Insurance. Home, auto, business, and life. You can depend on the fast, friendly service at Central Utah Insurance, 471 South Main.
Today is a very good day. You've got a new set of wheels and a license to drive. You, my friend, are on a roll. Can your life get better than this? You bet your spandex because you're going to McDonald's to wheel some delicious deals. Only 59 cents for a regular hamburger, 69-cent cheeseburger, and 99 cents for a chicken fajitas or breakfast burrito. Wow. You ask someone to pinch you. Ah, a volunteer. Yes, your life is good. And at these prices, it only gets better at McDonald's today.
It was political party caucus night Monday evening in Moab. Republican Party members gathered in locations all over town to elect delegates to the upcoming county and state conventions. Two of the districts met at the high school, where they heard a video message from Republican Party head Bruce Huff. And they also perused the literature of the Republican candidates vying for the nomination of their party. There will be nomination battles for virtually all the major Republican candidates this year, including governor, Senate, the 3rd Congressional District, the state representative, as well as the Grand County Commissioner. Democrats all met together at the Civic Center, then broke up into individual districts. According to local chairman David Beerscheid, the aim of the caucus meetings is to choose the people who will vote at the county convention in May.
Well, basically each district is charged with electing, arm twisting, however you can do it, a chair and a vice chair and a secretary treasurer. And then determined earlier was the amount of delegates that come from each district to go to the county convention, where at county convention then they are charged with getting people for the state convention. So basically what we're doing now is getting district officers and delegates to the county convention.
How was the turnout tonight?
I think it was fair. We had some districts, the districts like Elgin and Thompson and Arches didn't have anybody here, but that's sort of expected. District 1 had 20 or 30, so, you know, we had a fair turnout.
The delegates chosen will go next to the county conventions, where they will vote on who should run for local offices. In the county commission race, both parties have 2 candidates running. If any of them receives 70% of the votes at the county convention, they become the nominee. If not, there will be a primary vote in September. 2 years ago, Bill Orton was a tax attorney who nobody thought had a prayer to be elected to Congress. Now he is the representative from Utah's 3rd Congressional District and likely to be re-elected as a Democrat in what was historically been considered the most Republican district in the state. He was in Moab last weekend speaking to a town meeting on the economy and the federal deficit. And he also spoke with Channel 6 about the upcoming election, where he is considered the leading candidate.
The latest Dan Jones poll shows that I had, I think 58% positive response. When they tested me only against Republicans, the opposing party, that went up to 60%. So that reflects that that I think the majority of the people in the district appreciate the job that I've been doing and think that I'm representing them well. It's very difficult to mount extremely serious opposition to someone if the majority of the people are satisfied with the job they're doing.
The reputation of the Utah Democratic Party is generally more liberal than you. Is that accurate, and does that mean that you have to distance yourself a little bit from other candidates such as Wayne Owens?
Well, it depends on if you're characterizing the reputation of the Utah Democratic Party. It depends on what time period you characterize, because there are periods in the past where we have been a very conservative party. Over the last few years, they may have been a little more liberal than I am, but I really don't get that involved in partisan arguments or partisan labeling of conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican. I just go out and tell the people, this is me, this is what I think, this is what we ought to be doing, and if people agree with me, if they like it, they'll vote for me. If they don't, they won't.
Last year, Orton was here in town holding hearings on wilderness. He says he has completed those hearings and should issue a report by early this summer. And he said his approach was different from that of other Utah Congress members.
The approach that I'm taking is we are looking at each of the parcels of public land that are under consideration. We're identifying the resources on those public lands and then identifying the most appropriate means of management of those resources. Some of that will be wilderness, some will be non-wilderness. There are a couple of areas that we will be recommending as national monuments. There are some areas we may be recommending as Bureau of Reclamation conservation areas, which can be operated similar to a national park, only under the BLM direction rather than the Park Service direction. So what we're doing is really identifying the assets on and the resources on the public lands and determining what is the best means of managing those.
A major issue in Utah has been attempts by the federal government to trade for state lands currently within national parks or wilderness areas. The state wants other lands in exchange, lands they can develop, but the trades have been bogged down in negotiations.
Well, this issue, as you know, began back with Governor Matheson with his Project Bold, an attempt to consolidate state lands to get inholdings traded out so that the state could manage them, could develop them, could generate revenue from them. I have been a proponent of that basic concept ever since Governor Matheson came up with it over a decade ago. And so the problems, however, have been, how do you value the land? How do you value the land that is inside Arches National Park as opposed to land that is somewhere in a coal field, in a Forest Service boundary? That's been the difficulty, and coming up with an agreement between the state and the federal government as to what the value of those lands are really has been the hold-up point.
Orton added that although recent scandals have cast Congress in a bad light, he believes he will not be tainted by the label of incumbent. The federal government says grazing on public lands costs 3 times the fees charged to ranchers. And County Agent Dan Nelson explains the new windbreak at the Old Spanish Trail Arena. We'll have those stories when the Channel 6 News continues.
Get in on the fun with this 91 Ford Explorer at Certified Ford. This V6 automatic XLT comes complete with power windows and locks, air conditioning and cruise control for your ease and comfort, and pinstripes running boards and an AM/FM cassette for the sport in you. Low mileage, too. See it today at Certified Ford.
Spring is busting out all over at Spanish Valley Nursery. Quality new stock is arriving almost daily at the best prices around. Select from an abundance of evergreen and flowering shrubbery and container-grown roses. Decorative grasses, ground covers, and ivies line the path to the greenhouse, where it's full steam ahead for flowers, vegetables, and herbs. And it doesn't stop there. The backup stock is growing in the wings. Come enjoy the bounty of spring at Spanish Valley Nursery, where it's always first quality.
First Western National Bank, your hometown bank in Moab, has a special offer for homeowners. Now is the time to fix up your home with a new addition, kitchen cabinets, storm windows, siding, or a new deck. First Western National Bank can make any qualified homeowner an FHA Title I loan up to $17,500. Come in and see Southeast Utah's loan specialist at First Western National Bank, your hometown bank in Moab.
Conservative Western senators were able to stop a bill to raise grazing fees on public lands each of the last 2 congressional years. But that could be tougher following a release of an internal report by the Departments of Interior and Agriculture. That report said the federal government lost over $52 million on the federal grazing program. That loss is 3 times the total that the government collects in grazing fees. The report also says those fees could be raised without causing ranchers financial hardship, contradicting a claim that a fee increase would drive thousands of ranchers out of business. Figures released by the government indicate that there are just under 27,000 ranchers using public lands in the western states. The cost of running the Forest Service and BLM grazing programs is put at about $74 million. That works out to be $2,700 per rancher. Grazing fees set at $1.92 per month for a cow and her calf brings in about $27 million. But opponents of raising fees say that not all that money in the grazing program goes directly into programs for livestock, that some goes for wildlife and endangered species protection, and they add that some of the rest goes to a large grazing program bureaucracy. You may have noticed some landscaping work being done out at the Equestrian Center Arena over the last few weeks. It's part of a cooperative effort of the Old Spanish Trail Arena, the State Division of Lands, the Soil Conservation Service, and the Red Rock Four-Wheelers to erect a windbreak. County Agent Dan Nelson explained what the project involves.
As we all know, if we've attended an activity out at the fairgrounds and arena area, we tend to get a lot of winds, especially about the time of the rodeos. We're standing in a site that we've cooperatively had an effort to establish a windbreak that will serve to hopefully build on in coming years. We've moved a windbreak about 1,000 feet from the highway on a dogleg down around the backside just to the south of the new Old Spanish Trail Arena. The funding ended up costing the total project is around $2,300. Approximately $320 of that will come from the arena budget, the balance being donated from other funds. Trees were ordered from the Lone Peak Nursery of the State Lands and Forestry Division. We're planting it as a demonstration, so we have mixed the species. We have basically 3 rows with shrubs on the side that would face the prevailing winds. We have squaw bush, pea shrub, and desert peach shrub, which is a native of southwestern Utah. In the middle we have blue spruce, which we'll be interested to see how they tolerate in this country. And then eastern red cedar, and the top that we're just standing in front of here is an Austrian pine. On the deciduous row we have hackberry on the two ends, and in the middle we planted hybrid poplar, again to see how we'll do in tolerating the desert conditions. The weed barrier, which we're laying today, and we'll see in a moment, was donated by the manufacturer, DeWitt Products. They have one of the better products in the market with probably the longest guarantee. As we planted these, we're using a drip irrigation system to conserve water and limit weeds in between the trees. We've run just about 1,000 feet of line on each of 3 rows, and then used emitters on 2 feet of spaghetti tube. This is Dan Nelson with Utah State University Cooperative Extension.
Up next is the Canyon Country weather forecast when the Channel 6 News continues.
You know, Pete & Company is the largest styling salon in southeastern Utah, but did you know they have casual wear? These go-anywhere styles take you from morning to evening, from work to play, comfortably in carefree cotton blends. Now colorful too, in bright spring shades. You'll love to live in it. Pete & Company, your place for style from head to toe.
Through the seasons, through the miles, through the rough country of southeastern Utah, we get you through. We're GTE. We're your telephone company.
Spring is here, and if images of shovels, rakes, sprinklers, hoses, fertilizer, and peat moss are running through your head, run on down to Moab Hardware and Furniture. This year, save backstrain with this handy thatching blade that fits right on your mower. Save money with Ace brand fertilizer, 20-pound bag, just $3.99. And we'll loan you the spreader at no charge. Moab Hardware and Furniture, the garden spot for all your gardening needs.
Sunshine stayed in the valley on Tuesday, and though it's still April, high temperatures climbed into the mid-90s. And look for more warm weather for a day or two, followed by a few showers by the end of the week. The official National Weather Service forecast calls for blue skies through Wednesday. Look for afternoon thermometer readings again passing the 90-degree mark with overnight lows down near 60. But by Thursday, some clouds should move in as a cool front from the northwest passes over the state. Look for a chance of showers with highs staying in the mid-80s. But the wet weather should be brief. Look for partly cloudy skies on Friday with bright sunshine by Saturday and Sunday, highs in the mid-80s. And that's the news of Moab and Canyon Country. I'm Tricia Maroney reporting.